Welcome to the 5th episode of The Real Deal Bricks and Beyond. My name is Anna Adjicum, one of the co-founders of On Point Property Management Limited. If you've been following the series, you will realise that I'm here by myself today. Victoria is on a very exciting project in Ghana, so I'll be leading today's episode. However, I'm really excited for today's topic because we'll be talking about all things legality in Ghana, investing in Ghana. So we have a very special guest, our industry expert, to really just give us the ins and outs and the how-tos. So I would be delighted to introduce you today to Evans Yaw-Amoah-Nyamekye. He is a specialist legal professional who is a lawyer in the Supreme Courts of the United Kingdom, and also wears another hat of being the head of the Diaspora Affairs for the Ghana Association. So welcome, Evans.
How are you, Anna?
I'm good, and you?
It's a joy to be here. I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Listen, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on this podcast to discuss, which I think is probably one of the single most important questions when people are thinking about investing in Ghana. And, you know, the minute you say lawyer, legality, it usually makes people very scared. So I think today you're going to help us unravel and debunk a lot of the misconceptions. And I think to just really get a feel of who you are. I think today we're celebrating this year 20 years of you working in law.
Can you imagine? Time's gone so fast. You're right. 20 years ago I qualified as a lawyer. And here I am talking to you, celebrating it in one sense. But it's been a long journey, it's been an exciting journey, and I'm very grateful for all the things that has been accomplished. I'm looking forward for the next phase of the career, and hopefully you'll be able to elevate it to a new level as to where I am at the moment.
Wonderful, no, thank you. And I'm sure over the 20 years you've been wearing two hats, obviously here in London, and then obviously doing some amazing work in Ghana, not just with the real estate, but, you know, with can I say some of your...
You can say there's nothing to hide. I think it's public knowledge what I do.
Yeah, with the Asante Hini, with the King, and you know, it's just so good to see how the diaspora, again, is working in real time and making such a difference. But yeah, I think what we want to kick off is, what would you say would be an overview of the investment laws in Ghana, the regulations, and generally, what are the practical points for the diaspora?
Well, you started off the conversation by talking about when people hear about lawyers, how they get quite apprehensive and worried. And it's understandable because really when people hear about laws, they tend to worry about either being controlled or enforced and things like that. But I think you and your audience are really relaxed and look at us as the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers to really make sure things go according to the laws that you're in. And the work that we do as lawyers is to make sure that whenever you do a transaction or you're involved in a new jurisdiction, we make you kind of feel comfortable in all that you do. So when you're talking about Ghana, you're talking about various different laws. And you're talking about laws, for example, the Foreign Investment Act, which deals with entry into the establishment. You're talking about the rules that allow you to engage into the market. So really there's quite a wide range of laws that cover things in Ghana.
I think that's really good. And if I just do a case scenario, typical, you say someone's coming to invest in, real hot topic is land, like land ownership. What would you say would be the practical sort of points for someone wanting to buy land in Ghana?
Well, you see, like any jurisdiction, I think land and property acquisition is a very important step, and it's a very brave step. And I think, like any other investment that you do, you want to make sure that you do it in the right way, and you do it in a way which is compliant. Because if you don't do it in the right way and you don't do it which is compliant, you will face headaches. We've all heard the horror stories of people who have acquired land, who believed it was their land, who have built upon their land, only to find out there's people on their land. That can't be right. So I think one of the most important processes is to always to get a lawyer. And I'm not saying it because I am a lawyer, I'm saying it's because if you're in the UK, you're not going to acquire a property or buy a property without a conveyancer or a lawyer to help you get through.
Absolutely.
So just because you're in Ghana, you shouldn't sidestep that issue. So that's the starting point. Once you've gone past that starting point, you should also go to the land registry. okay? Because the Land Commission there will obviously give you all the certificates, all the verifications that you require. And obviously do your own due diligence, be wise in what you do, and don't just think because you're in another jurisdiction, you can sidestep the things that you do in the UK.
And I think that's such an important point, and we say that with our clients as well. How you buy property, say if you're in the UK or the US, why would you want to take shortcuts in Ghana? So the involvement of the lawyer is really at the beginning before you exchange any money.
I think it's before you even contemplate buying anything. I think go and see a sensible land lawyer who understands what the rules are, what the process is. They can help with preliminary issues like searches to find out who owns the land, to find out if it's been occupied. That's a safety step, and I think it'd be wise to take that process because they're available, and there's one or two lawyers which we'll come on to who can help with that process.
Amazing. Now I think that's a really good starting point because the number of distressed sales we've had, and people come to us at the end when it's only a lawyer. I know another issue where people worry about fees in Ghana. How is the fees done?
Well, when you're talking fees, I don't think it's just Ghana people worry about lawyer fees. I think they worry about lawyer fees no matter where you go.
Yeah.
But I think about it like this. The Ghana Bar Association and within its framework have published on their website, or you can go online and look for it, a set of rules as to how lawyers charge. They're always confined, and you can't go wrong if you follow that process.
Okay, so that's really good to know that there are published. You see, I think the problem is that we find is lack of information or where to find the information. So it's signposting that, you know, these fees are listed, and where can we find these on the...
Go on any Ghana legal website that deals with legal fees and you'll be able to find them. The Ghana Bar Association is a good starting point. They're a helpful organisation, and they'll help you allocate where to find this type of information.
Yeah, and we're working closely with the Ghana Bar Association. Thankful to your introductions, and we can see there's a real synergy and there's a seamless point-by-point, step-by-step guide which we encourage even not just our clients but anyone buying in Ghana. And another thing is that we've realised the diaspora market, the Ghana real estate market is booming generally. Despite all what's going on globally, you know, sales are picking up, and people are now realising and witnessing, especially through our platforms, that there are reputable real estate developers. And again, the legal process of buying a ready-made home, what would you say the process would be for that?
Well, I'm not surprised. You know, since the government has launched the Year of the Return policy and the Beyond the Return policy, there's been an influx of people who are attracted to Ghana. And not only is there influx of attraction, there's an interest of settlement.
Yeah.
And when you have the interest of settlement, then you have the interest of acquisition. And what's been happening is a lot of local developers have been really capitalizing off that influx of individuals. So I think the starting point is to find a reputable one. And again, without giving you guys the props on this, but you've taken the lead on this. And you have an established list of property developers, because they would have gone through a lot of the headaches of the land acquisition, the title, and but most importantly, at least if there's any issue, you've got a point of contact as to how you can deal with. So that's what I would do. Find a reputable one who is connected to a reputable organisation, like On Point, for example, and then therefore you'll be able to just find comfort in what you acquire without the headaches that will follow if you go to a less known or reputable individual.
Absolutely, and without self-struggling. That's why we set up our Ghana division of the business. And you know, and then also, is there restrictions or limitations? If obviously anyone listening today, they're thinking of investing in Ghana, so the diaspora, what can they just buy? Can anyone buy?
Look, when you're investing in Ghana, you've got to be very careful. There are restrictions, obviously, especially foreign investors. Sometimes you have what you call capital requirements for certain type of projects, depending on the type of investment. You also have regulatory approvals that you must also abide by. And there are sectorial restrictions which require certain permits. And there's certain types of lands that you have to also be alive to and be aware of. So I think what you need to do as an individual from the diaspora is be alive to these issues. But again, I go back to my starting point, and I'll keep on repeating it. just find a competent lawyer who'll be able to do that for you.
Yeah.
And all of these little headaches that you're talking about won't be affecting your ways or your purchases. And obviously, sorry to cut you, but also be aware of the taxation issues as well, because a lot of people think you can just buy them without having the tax applying. It's not a good thing to do. Just be aware of the tax implications in what you're doing.
That's a really important point there on the tax, because what you just explained, would that cover for commercial investments, or if it's just say, you know, it's Amo in London just wants to buy a property in Ghana?
No, that conversation is more directed towards those who are talking about the commercial aspects.
Okay.
Because if you're thinking about it, a lot of people become quite savvy and realise that the Ghana real estate is booming.
Yeah.
For example, the student accommodation is one area. But if you're talking about exchange controls and repatriation of funds, then you need to be aware of the taxation implications in relation to that.
Okay. So the individual who wants to buy a second home, or who's or buying for investment, because many of our clients buy for investment, would they have tax implications?
Like anything you do, you're going to have, like, for example, over here you have stamp duty charges and stuff like that. You also have the equivalents in Ghana for those individual purchases. So if you are buying the land, there's the land commission charges that they will charge. So you're not just buying a land to the owner and that's it. There are implications. But again, the competent lawyer will direct you, depending on the type of land that you're buying and the size of it, will also be able to guide you and protect you.
Likewise, you just said stamp duty here. So again, just for the benefit of anyone listening today, they follow the steps. They've bought a property, or in the process of buying a property from a reputable developer. Typically, what would be their upfront or other costs associated with buying a ready-made home?
Well, in relation to those, you should be quite packaged, because from what I understand, a lot of these developers are quite sensible, and when they're presenting you with these developments, they come fairly packaged. But again, some unscrupulous individuals are purporting to have these taxes covered and these costs covered, and they haven't actually covered it. So what you need to do again is verify even your developer, and just to make sure that they have covered all the necessary cost and tax implications, so that you won't be burdened with them thereafter.
Yeah. Now it's interesting, because I said many of these questions we're answering today, we've done a poll, just so you know, and many of our, not clients or people who responded to our poll, wanted to make sure that we're answering these specific questions. So we've sort of kind of organically answered quite a few of what the steps the diaspora should take to ensure that the investments are legally protected, which you've told us with the land registry. So there's a lot of these organisations that are in place.
Absolutely, and I think what it is, I think it's a historical misunderstanding of the administration as to how Ghana works.
Yeah.
I believe Ghana is a very effective nation. It has these things in place, and I think people just need to engage into the right entities. You know, there's been a historical approach as to how you buy land and how you acquire property. Oh, my sister is building for me, or my brother is building for me. But what transpires is your sister's probably building for themselves, or your aunt is probably building for themselves, and you go there thinking you have this 5-bedroom mansion, not to find that you've got this one little bedroom shack that hasn't even been completed yet. And it's quite heartbreaking. Yeah. And it's sad that people don't realize that the government is trying to provide this information, and I think people should engage with it. They are user-friendly. The High Commission, if you go to the High Commission, they will direct you. But for whatever reason, people just seem not to want to engage with the establishments, and I think there's got to be a better way how you stop the heartbreak. And I think if you engage with these entities, you should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's again a really good point, because I know, even just through our own experience, that a lot of people are investing almost in secrecy. It's a very insular process, and I feel like the ones who want to engage come to us. But there's a lot, who you said, who will still go to their aunt, their sister, or even refer to a friend in church who are not qualified. And I think we just really want to emphasize that there are professionals like yourself who are very well versed in this, and will make sure that the outcome is clear. Another big topic that always comes up with every client is, why can't we buy property in freehold?
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Freehold and leasehold.
Well, you've got different types of land in Ghana, isn't there?
Yes.
And of course, when you've got store land, it belongs invested into the families. So when you have families who have store land, for example, it's not in their right to give it to anybody for life, isn't it? Because it's a family land. So I think, again, the concept that we have in the UK when you buy freehold is slightly different in Ghana, because they have totally different traditions. And this is why I think it's very important to also not impose your own understanding or respect the local cultural aspects as to how you purchase things.
Yes.
Because there is a cultural difference, and when you're talking about land, especially in the Accra area or the Ashanti region, they have totally different rules. So if you go to the Ashanti region, for example, all that land is vested in the Ashanti innit?
And is that Kumasi? So
Well, that's one area, it's the capital of the Ashanti region.
yeah.
And it's all invested in him. So you go to the House of Chiefs, and there's a registry department there, have very professional and experienced people. So you won't, it's quite unlikely to get those type of issues. You can, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very unlikely because there's a proper system of administration. And then you'll be able to know who has ownership and who has claim to that particular land. So the concept of freehold and leasehold, it's two different things. And I think you have to get your head around the 99 years lease provision in Ghana.
So 99 years is the maximum for a indigenous Ghanaian?
It's the maximum for whatever lease you can get.
For whatever lease you can get.
But you have to understand, some other entities like the housing associations or those developers have lesser restrictions on there. So you've got to be very careful. And this is why I say to you, before you put your finger in your pocket, get a competent lawyer to go through the requirements of the lease and make sure that that lease is consistent with the laws of the land that you're working with.
And what are the types of freehold? So you mentioned store.
Store land.
Family land, essentially. And then we have...
You've got government land, of course, which obviously is not for sale. And you've got leasehold.
And leasehold. So the government land, again, so the government can lease the land to...
Well, that's government land. It's not what they can lease or not. That's just government land where perhaps they have their own initiatives that they want to do and develop. And you have the leasehold, which is probably individuals who acquire land, give it out to third parties for a period of time.
Okay.
And it's that period of time that they're able to utilise.
I understand. And then the store, is that the same as chieftaincy land?
It is. Store land is probably the most adequate land that you interpretation of the word, but chieftaincy, it comes under their land. A particular chief in a particular jurisdiction will have that land under the stall name of that family, and it's normally family hereditary type of land. And of course, they're entitled to spread that out and deliver it out.
It's really, really good. I'm just thinking again of what's been another topic, which I'm looking at our answers and questions here. We've gone through the navigation of land acquisition, and I think the big R, the research and due diligence, you just really can't get enough of that, I think.
You see, when you're about to make a major investment in life, whether it be for your academics, whether it be for your healthcare, whether it be for your children's lifestyle, one thing you always do, you don't make those knee-jerk reactions because they're lifetime decisions.
Yeah.
So what you tend to do a lot of research into those decisions. And I don't believe acquiring property in Ghana is any different from those lifetime decisions. So you do research the area. What you don't want to do is buy a piece of land in one particular area that's undeveloped and then find out there's going to be a nuclear factory built next to it because you haven't done your research. That's not what you bought your property for. Or you don't want to buy a property and find out it's been sold 10 times over by other people. So you're in court fighting for this piece of land that you genuinely bought in good faith. So research and development, or diligence really, is the key in my view.
Yeah, that's really important, the key to making sure that you invest safely in Ghana, because that's the key word, because people are successfully investing in Ghana, and I think success leaves a clue. So, and I think the insights you've got today have been really, really interesting. I mean, land permits, we've talked about that, research, registered property. That's another thing that also comes up, is once you've owned a property, the land title's transferred to you. And one thing you've just said there about lease meaning that when the lease is coming to an end, it will need to be renewed. What is the renewal process?
Well, it's going back to the original person who granted you the lease, and renegotiating the terms of the lease. And one of the most important things I've discovered and learned over the years is looking at the terms of the original lease to see if it can be extended or not.
Yeah.
Very important clauses, and if it's not in there, then make sure that you find a clause that reflects your intentions to keep it. If you have an intention to pass on your acquisition to your generations that follow, make sure that 50 years is extended so that you can pass it on, so it passes up beyond the time of the lease.
It's really important. So that part in the lease where it says it's renewable, you better make sure that part.
And the conditions of the renewal.
Yes.
You know, and the cost involved in the renewal.
Well, that's
you know, it's so important. And a lot of people get caught off guard because you see, when you buy something like that and you see a lease, for example, for 99 years, you have the impression that's long enough.
Yeah.
And it is long enough for one's lifetime, perhaps, but it's not long enough for one generational passover and transition. So I think you need to be able to teach your kids about what you've acquired and who to go to and look for if you need to extend that lease. But the most important thing is, whatever you do, you just make sure you register your property rights with the relevant government authorities to establish your own individual rights on that. Because, for example, you may purchase something and the person who you purchased it from has passed on to another land. Or passed on to another world, for example, and they're no longer. Yeah. Who can go and verify your legal status?
That's really important. So even if you've bought off the developer, make sure that that land title for your property is registered in your name.
It's fundamental, because if you go back for renewal, for example, and it's their son or their daughter who's taken over, they may well not recognise you.
Yeah. And that also leads me to another important point, because the Ghana real estate market has evolved. So traditionally we were just buying land, living in compounds, you know, family members, and then you would inherit. But now we've got the sort of where the real estate market has moved into more contemporary living, where we have apartments. One plot of land may house maybe 100 flats or even more. So that part was really important for lease renewals, and also with the title. So we need to make sure that also the developer has correctly, obviously, got the head lease.
That's right.
They would have the head lease, and then the title for that plot of land or that apartment would be the homeowner.
And it's important for those other viewers of yours, the ones who are interested in establishing their own real estate and building such properties, you know, the required permits, the building permits. You don't want to be in a situation where you bought a piece of land and you think you can just start building without the relevant permits. That's not how you should conduct yourself in another jurisdiction. Make sure you apply for the right building permits. Make sure you apply for the right licensing, you know, to be able to build what you're trying to do. So you have your architects, your surveyors. Get a competent individual to help guide you through. And again, before you do anything, I keep on repeating myself, just find a competent counsel or competent legal advisor to take you through the process. And they will make sure that all of those steps are guaranteed for you, so that you have a peaceful and prosperous investment.
I think there are plenty golden nuggets for our listeners to take away with them, especially when it comes to the acquisition of land, whether you're buying a property, whether you're going to build. You need a good team around you, and I think the legal team is actually the crucial point.
I think so. I think that's your if I can put, your safety net.
Yeah.
Because with the legal counsel who works in this area, he'll be able to navigate his way through, especially the initial parts, because you see, a lot of these contentious issues take place after you're probably just about to put the final window frame in.
Yeah.
And then as you're about to put the final window frame in and your curtain up, somebody turns up and says, "This is my land." Yeah. That causes a bag load of distress and unnecessary confusion. But if you've got a competent lawyer from the very outset who's registered your property with the relevant institutions and the relevant agencies, you'll be able to build in peace and activate all the things that you wanted to do. So when you put your final curtain up, you can pull it up in peace.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important part to sort of conclude here. That, you know, things are done correctly, you will have that outcome, which I think is so important. And I think, yeah, we need to understand, especially, and I think especially goes because I think with the diaspora and us living outside, we come into Ghana with sort of like a rose-tinted garden. You know, our eyes are like, oh, we're in Ghana, we think everything's going to be okay, but it will, but we need to put those crucial steps into place, which I think, Evans, you've really given us some eye-opener points. But I always say, before you leave, what would be sort of like your top 5 points, just to sort of wrap up those who want to invest in Ghana?
It's really hard to confine it into 5, but I'll give you my points, all right? The starting point is understand Ghana is a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It's a country which is constantly progressing, it's evolving, it's stable. So no wonder people are trying to embrace what it has to offer. But have a game plan, number 1. What do you actually want to do? Are you going to invest, or is it a personal scenario? So the starting point is, once you identify what you want to do, then you know how to maneuver yourself. Because you see, both approaches have different aspects to it, okay? Now, number 1 is find yourself a competent legal advisor, okay? That's starting point for me. Somebody who can charge you in the right way, who can competently achieve your objectives and get to your required destination. That's number 1. Following on from that is also do your own due diligence. Just because you have a competent lawyer, that's one thing, but make sure you do your own checks as well. Go to the land registry, go to the land commission and check it and see if the documents that your lawyers have told you is correct. Once you've done that, get your budgeting right, okay? I've seen a lot of people fall down on this because when they think it's 5 cities, it turns out to be 25 cities, and it can really mess up your pocket. And look at these exchange controls, you know, make sure that you have the right calculations in place. And after you've followed all of those basic steps, just apply and follow the law. Don't cut corners, it's just wrong. It's so easy to be tempted, and they say to you, oh, Charlie, we're the initiator, it's okay. But no, it's not okay. I think if you're from the diaspora, I think you should respect the nation that you're in and come with the same respect that the locals have to apply themselves with. And I think once you've done all of those basic things, I think you'll have peace of mind. And I think to really top it up and finalize some of the most important things is to just respect the cultural aspects of Ghana.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people I'm seeing from the diaspora have this approach that they believe they surpass the local rules or the local regulations, and they feel that because they're from the diaspora, there's a sense of entitlement or a sense of over and beyond their status. Humble yourselves, in my view, and contribute to the nation rather than trying to affect the nation's contribution to you. You know, it's not what you bring to a nation, it's what you can do for a nation, in my view. And I think if you can bring something positive to the nation, it grows as a nation, and we all live in perfect harmony.
I really like that. What a wonderful way to just end, to just contribute to Ghana, not just go there with a higher authority that we do witness and see. And as you said, it's an important point. And I always say to every investor, visit Ghana. Mm-hmm. Visit. You know, I've had clients who've never been, but, you know, looked at social media and thought, oh, that's enough, I'll just invest. And I say, go in, understand the culture, because that is a real big part of your investment. You know, you've got to be in the country where the investment is, or if you're not going to live there, you're going to need to understand the environment that your investment's in. So, Evans, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been quite fun.
And it's been a really insightful session today. And we look forward to having you back on.
See you soon.
Take care. See you.